clutter. So take out as much as you can to communicate your main idea, and keep it as simple as possible. And then put the visual information, put the information near the visual component. Okay, so we're going to do this together. So you all have your computers. What we're going to do is navigate to the course website, and we're going to download this data set, coffeeshops.csv. So we'll run over here. I have this exercise recorded in Excel. This is from last year. And you can take a look at that if you like. I will be posting, I said I'd post these right after class, and for a technical reason that hasn't happened yet. But those will, last lecture and last exercise will get posted here. So for exercise 1.1, you can just click on the coffee shops dataset, and it should download for you. So I have a downloads folder, and I have my CSV file. And as you remember, CSV stands for comma-separated values. And what we can see in the data set, this is a very simple data set. What we can see is the list of coffee shops by state. So we have a bunch of coffee shops, and we just have the states listed out. Before we start working with this data set in Excel, I just want to talk a bit about data organization, or like file management. This is not a class about Python. This is not a class about Excel, although we are using both of those tools. This is also not a class about file organization. It's like, I already see the yawns. But as we're going through this semester, we're going to be encountering lots of data sets, and it's important to keep these things organized. If we don't, things become very complicated very quickly. You may not believe me right now, but as we go through this semester, it will be increasingly important to organize our files. So what I've done here on my desktop, I have a couple of folders. This is some data for later in the semester. I have this folder for this class. So all the in-class stuff we do will happen here. And then I have part 1.1 as a separate subfolder. So what you can do is just create a folder either in your desktop or in your documents folder, wherever you like on your computer. And then you can keep the files, the data set, in a subfolder. So what I'm going to do is actually just take this coffee shop data set and drag it over. Actually, that's not where we want it. Let's put it back. Today we're in part 1.1. So part 1.1. So I'm just going to have a separate folder for today. I'm going to take this coffee shop folder, coffee shop data, and just drag it over. Okay, and then I'm not going to need the downloads folder for a second. So now we have the coffee shop's data set in the correct folder, just to keep us organized as we sort of progress through the semester. So I'm just going to open this, double click on it. It opens in Excel. And then we're going to take a look at what's actually contained in this data set. Okay, so we can just go row by row. This is just a list of all the different states, or all the different coffee shops, and which state they're in. So what we want is to visualize this data set. We want a visual that describes the number of coffee shops by state. And we can do this both with a pie chart and with a bar chart. But the place to start here is with a summary table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a summary table. So what we want are just the counts of each one of the coffee shops by state. Before we start on this, is everyone set up in Excel? Anyone still having issues with Excel directly? Okay, let's maybe chat after class if you have a second, and we can get you set up. Anyone else? Okay. So with these in-class exercises, you're going to be doing work on your computer, but I also want you to be checking with people around you. You're going to run into technical issues, and as we go through the semester, the people around you will be very helpful for resolving your technical issues. So someone else next to you has probably figured it out, if you haven't, and vice versa. So if you figured it out and someone around you hasn't, then offer some help. What we're going to start with before we do the visualization is just creating a summary table. So we just want to find the counts for each one of these states. How many coffee shops are in each one of the states? If I just select this data and I go to insert and I click on, let's do a bar chart. I can click on this thing and it'll give me a column chart, and I just plot this out. This is not great. This is not a very useful figure. What we need in Excel is actually a list of counts. So we need to create like a summary table of all the different counts. This is not a bar chart, unfortunately. This is much easier in Python, but what we need in Excel is to actually create a table. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to list out all the unique values among the states. So which states are represented? So let's create a new column. We're going to call this states. And then you'll remember we have our unique operator, our unique function. And what I'm going to do is just select all of the coffee shops. So that's A2 through 18. And I'm just going to hit enter. And that's going to give me the entire list of all the unique states. Okay, any questions here? It's very similar to what we did last time. The next thing we want to do is count up how many coffee shops are in each one of these states. Does anyone know a function that can work with this? Excel has a function called COUNTIF. So I just want to walk you through. We're not going to be able to cover each one of the functions in Excel in this class. This is not an Excel class. But one of the useful functions in Excel is called COUNTIF. So I'm just going to list out all the counts. And I'm going to hit equals and then COUNTIF. And you can see what it's asking for. First, it has a range, and then it has a criteria. So I'm going to select the entire data set, so all of the different states. So this is going to ask Excel to count how many times our criteria shows up in this list. So here's the list. I'm going to put the comma to tell it the list is over. And then I'm going to enter one of the states. So I'm going to say Texas. So what this function is doing is looking for Texas, counting how many times Texas shows up in our list. And if I hit enter, then it will count. And you can see, just quickly verifying, Texas shows up 4 times. Okay, so we're going to take about a minute here. I want you to, or 30 seconds, I want you to count up the number of times Washington shows up in our list. Take about 30 seconds, and then maybe check your number with someone next to you. Yeah. Okay. What number do you have? A 2? Anyone else get 2? Nice. So someone describe what you did here. May sound simple, but there are a couple of ways of doing this. Yeah.
So when we did the count, and we basically asked Excel to count the number of the category that we're going to provide. So we selected the cell so that we gave it a specific data to count from.
Yeah.
And then we specified what we want to count with each function.
Nice. So, and what's your name?
Sabi.
Sabi. So Sabi's saying we just basically did the same thing as we did here. We're just using COUNTIF. We select the list, and then we enter the condition. So what we could do is just write it out a second time. So we could say equals count if, and then give the range, and then give the criteria. But anyone do it differently? Yeah.
I referenced the cell with the steam.
Nice. And remind me of your name?
Lucas.
Lucas. And we have Luke and Lucas. So what Lucas is saying is instead of entering Texas manually, Lucas entered the cell of that's in our unique list. So I'm going to, Lucas's approach actually has some advantages, and I want to show you some of those advantages. So instead of listing Texas, writing that in manually, I'm going to just select the Texas cell. So I'm going to select this and hit enter. So this gives me the same count because it's saying look at the entire list and then check from that list whether this unique value is in the list. So we don't have to write out Texas to get the unique counts. So the next thing we could do is just select this. We're referencing the same list for Washington, but all we're doing is referencing Washington instead of Texas. So I'm just going to copy this cell with the function in it. So if I hit Command-C on my Mac or Control-C on a Windows computer, I can then paste that function into the next row below. So I'm going to do this, and then we're going to talk about what that looks like. So I'm going to paste it here, and I get 2, just like you got 2. Okay. Someone tell me, is this correct? Yeah. Technically, no. And why is it not correct?
Because it counts from A3 to A19, not A to A.
And what's your name?
James.
So what James is saying is, even though this gives us the correct number, copying and pasting actually has a bit of a nuance in Excel, which we can see by double-clicking on this. When we copied and pasted, it moved everything down. So it's correctly looking at Washington because we've copied from the cell above and we've copied one below. So it's moved the references down by 1 row. But in the process, it's also moved the reference for the list down by 1. So this list is now down 1 row from where it was earlier. So everything has been moved down. And this is giving us the right answer, but it's not giving us the right condition. So it's technically not correct. Does anyone know what the fix is for this? How do we get around this problem? Yeah.
Put dollar signs in front of the row.
Yeah, in front of the row. So Excel has this nice little feature built in where we can actually lock the reference as we move as we like copy and paste. So if I put a $sign in front of the number in the cell reference, I'm not going to put a $sign in front of the C because I do want that to move, but I don't want the row numbers for the range list to move. So I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to copy and paste here, and then let's check whether this worked. So when I copied from here to the Washington row, the reference for Washington has now moved correctly. So now we're checking the count of Washington. How many times does Washington show up in our list? But because I've added these symbols to the range numbers, so for the rows, then this list has stayed in place. We've locked the cell numbers as we've copied down. So this is now technically correct. And it's giving us the right number. Any questions here? Okay, so let's finish this table. Someone tell me the last three. We're going to take about 30 seconds here and finish writing out this table. If you're familiar with Excel, this may be a lot of review, and that's okay. If you're not familiar with Excel, this may feel like a lot of upfront work, and that is also okay. We're going to take about 30 seconds. Let's get some numbers. Matt.
Florida is 3.
Oh, hold on just a second. We'll take about 30 seconds. All right. Matt had some answers.
Florida 3.
So Florida's 3. So what I'm going to do to get this is I'm going to copy this with Control-C and then paste it here. And I get Florida has 3. I'm just going to double check that it's doing the right things. Okay?
6.
6 for California. 6 for California. Check it's doing the right things. And then someone else. What's Florida? Yes. I'm sorry, New York. Yeah. Remind me of your name. Sophia. That's right. And Hannah. So I'm going to again just paste in. Nope, that's not right. Copy and paste. So check it's doing the right things, and I get a number 2. So nice. Anyone get different numbers? Okay, so we've created a summary table. These are the counts. We're going to do the same thing in Python, but with one line. But this is a valid approach in Excel. So you can create the counts. We just go through and we count up all the different states. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is create a visualization, right? That's the main thing we're trying to do here. We've created a summary table, but let's create a visualization. So what I'm going to do is go up to the top bar here, click Insert, and then I'm going to click on Bar. So you can look at all these different visualization tools, or column, I guess is what Excel calls it. So I click on this. And then there are a bunch of different options. Horizontal is nice. Vertical is nice. For now, we'll just use the vertical. This is what's called a clustered column chart, which will work for our purposes. But before we get there, I just want to actually select the data, select our summary table, click on the visual tool, and have it spit that out for us. And this creates a pretty good visualization. So once we've done the summary table work, Excel will do a lot of the work for us. One thing we could do is change the title. So I could just double click on counts and relabel this as coffee shops by state, which would be a little bit more informative than just state or count. And then we have the list here. And there's more we could do. One thing you might want to do is, I personally generally prefer horizontal bar charts, your preferences may be different, but I think this is maybe a little bit easier to read, especially when we get very large numbers of categories. It's easier to have the text for the description of the bar to be horizontal. But you may like the original one better, and that's fine. Any questions about this? We can also create a pie chart. So we could insert, if you go up here to pie, Excel does have this built in. So feel free to use it. But like I said, in general, pie charts are deeply frowned upon. In fact, most people teaching this class would say never use them, which I think is maybe a little bit too strong, but that's the general guidance. When I took over this class, the slides said, do not use pie charts. I'm giving you a little bit more nuance to have in your toolbar. Okay, so here's a pie chart. This includes colors. It does not include numbers on top. A lot of issues with this figure. There are lots of ways to format figures in Excel. I don't create my figures in Excel. There's a lot of formatting. It can be kind of complicated to make them. So I'm going to show you a much better approach in Python. Okay, any questions here? So the steps. We took this, we made a summary figure, or summary table, using the list of coffee shops by state. We created counts, and then from the counts, we then created a pie chart and a bar chart. We're going to do a very similar thing in Python, except it's going to be much simpler. We're not going to have to do all these different functions. I'm going to get rid of this pie chart. They're pesky, and we should delete them. I'm going to save this. When I hit save, it saves as saves to the local file. But what you'll notice is this is the local file here is not. It's still a CSV file, which doesn't actually generally save the figures. To save the figure in the file, we have to hit Save As. So you'll see this banner across the top, which says, if you exit, you may lose some data. Excel has a very particular data format. If we hit Save As, it'll save it as an Excel workbook. So it'll have the ending to the file name .xlsx, which just tells you that it's an Excel file. So we can save all of our work to the Excel file. And then I'm going to exit out of this. Actually, I'll leave this up. But on the course website, we can click on Notebook, and this will open for us. The notebook. I haven't actually opened the notebook, the movie, in a while. That joke will get old, which hopefully you'll laugh at the oldness of the joke, because it's not a very good one. Okay, so here's the standard view of a notebook, right? We have the opening cell. We have the description for the notebook itself, which I've preloaded for you. I have some of the imports, and I have a file path to where on my website you can find the data set. So if you run this, it'll run all the imports. So we just hit play, and that runs the cell without running the rest of the file. So just doing that one particular step. And then the first thing we want to do is just load the shops data set. So I'm going to run this, and that loads the shops data set. And I don't need to run the text cells because they're not actually executing code. So each time, just as a refresher, each time we run one of these cells, we're actually asking Python to execute it. So it's taking that action. It's just like a list of steps in Excel if you were to write them down. We're just writing down the list of steps that we're taking one by one. And generally the way we proceed is just as you read text. So you start at the top and then you go line by line as we go down. So the next thing I want to do is just look at this data set. I just want to verify that it looks the same as what I'd expect. So I'm just going to do shops.head, and that'll give you the top 5. Or if you want to see the whole data set, you can just print out the whole data set. And this is exactly as we'd expect. So we have all the different rows, each one of the states. This is a bit cumbersome, so I'm not going to leave it printed. But you'll remember one of the things we can do is we can create a summary table very easily using shops.valueCounts. So if you have the slides, you can just copy this. I'll post the copyable, the interactive slides on the website if you want to follow along with that. But for now, you can just copy the shops.valueCounts. And I'm going to post that directly into the cell. So shops.valueCounts, and that creates the summary table. So in Excel, this took us a couple minutes. In Python, this is simple. So we're just creating a table of value counts. Okay, so nice. So we have our summary table. And then what we want to do is create a bar chart that does the same thing. So we want a bar chart with all of the counts. So what I'm going to do is go back to this exercise, the dataset 1, and I'm just going to use what we call a count plot. So this is from Seaborne. So SNS, you'll remember, is our nickname for the Seaborne package. And we're just asking Seaborne to go into all of its functions, look at the count plots, which just goes through and counts up each of the unique categories, and then creates a bar plot based on the counts. So we don't have to create a count plot or a summary count if we don't want to. We can just have Seaborne run count plot. We give it the data set. We say data will be coming from shops, which is the data set we just loaded. And then we're going to have the Y variable, so the vertical axis is just going to be the list of all the states. And then hue is just for color. I'm going to delete that for now if we want, and run this. Okay. How many of you were successfully able to create a count plot in Python? Okay, so let's take a second here. If you haven't successfully completed it, maybe chat with someone next to you. I want to see a figure that looks like this in your notebook. We'll take a second here. If you've already completed it, give someone around you a hand. Just help someone out next to you. And if you have no one near you that hasn't made a figure like this, maybe tell someone next to you the most fun thing you did this weekend. It'll take about 30 seconds here.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So the most fun thing I did this weekend, if you count Monday as the weekend, I'm training for this race called Hyrox. Anyone knows, heard of it? So like my gym just did a whole, like a bit of a simulation of part of that race on Monday, which is fun. The weather was nice. It was a good time. Okay, so if you're still struggling to get this set up, feel free to keep working. Just because I'm talking or we're moving on to a new idea doesn't mean you shouldn't be continuing to work on these things. You're more than free to keep working. One thing I might do, Seaborne has another another part of the function which allows us to add colors to our bars. So what I'm going to do is actually go in and define hue. So this just allows us to add some colors. And I'm just going to say I want the colors to be based on the state. So this looks a little bit redundant, but I'm just telling Seaborne to make each state a different color. So I'm going to say state, and then I'm going to close the parentheses and run this. And this gives us different colors by state. Any questions here? Nice. So we've created a nice visualization without creating a summary table. And the reason we can do this is because we're using CountPlot. It just does the summary table for us behind the scenes, and we can do it in one line in Python, which I think is amazing. It's very powerful. Okay, so this is the bar chart. For the slides, I basically did something very similar to this, except I added some other nuances, which you can play around with if you like. One thing you can do with AI is you could say, make this pretty. So this is this hash just means that it's not Python code. So it's written in the Python cell, but it's not actually doing anything in Python. This is what we call a comment. And what AI will do is take your comment and turn it into some code. So if I hit enter and create a new line, well, sometimes it works. This is one of the problems of doing these things live. So if it doesn't work in line, you can go over to Gemini on the side and add it here. We can say make it pretty. We'll see what happens. All right. So, but that's how it would work if it were connected properly. So here it's saying to add a title, an X label, a Y label. It's taking off the legend. And if you want this this edit to your cell, you can hit accept. And you can see it's added some stuff, but it hasn't really made it great. So one of the principles of using AI is it will not write things perfectly for you. You have to understand how these tools work to be able to get good results using AI, at least at the moment. So I'm actually going to undo this because I like the simpler one better. Okay, but you should add more to this. All right, this is a great place to start. This is the visualization, some of the visualization tools that we use for categorical variables. We're going to do one more exercise, one more data set, and then I'm going to send you out the door. The next one is, so I have some code here for pie charts if you wish to use them, but like I said, I don't recommend it. In fact, Seaborne doesn't even have a pie chart that you can run. You have to use a different visualization tool. I've included the code, but you do not have to replicate this. What we're going to do next is look at this dataset employment status. We have about 5 minutes. So what I want to do in the first minute or so is just for you to take a look at the dataset directly. So load the dataset and play around with it, and then tell your neighbor generally what you think is included in this dataset. So if you run this, it'll load as status. I want you to look at the dataset, look at the raw data, and tell your neighbor what's included. And then I'll ask you in a second. What is this dataset describing? Okay, what are we seeing? Someone describe this to me. So what I'm going to do first is just print out the data set. So AI is thinking I want to value counts, but I don't. So I'm just going to run this. So someone describe this for me. What do we see? Yeah.
It's just taking some people saying they're
Remind me of your name? Matan. So Matan is saying, we're just listing out a bunch of households. We have a bunch of unique IDs by household. And then we have a second column which is telling us whether someone in the household is employed. This data set should look a little familiar from one of our exercises last time. Okay, so if we were trying to create a visual to describe this data set, where might we start? Let's take about a minute here. Tell someone next to you what we might do. If you have the slides, you may have seen where we're going. This is one of those things, like, we see a data set. The step going from the data set to choosing the correct or the most useful visualization is a step in itself that I will ask you to do. So what might we do next? Maybe chat with your neighbor, come back together.
Don't worry, I've never used them in papers.
Yeah, that's the correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could just
Okay. What do we do next? What type of variable is this? Yes. Binary categorical. Yeah. Your name?
Ava.
Ava. So Ava is saying binary categorical variable. We have a categorical variable which takes two possibilities. And what do we generally recommend for a visualization of this type of data? This type of variable? Yes. Remind me of your name? James. Pi or bar graph. And for me, I'm always going to go bar. What we might do is a value count. So I'll run this. Or I could run a bar graph. I'm over time. I'm going to show you what this looks like, but if you need to go, there's the door. I'm going to do sns.countplot. Python generally knows a lot of what's going on. Data, status, and then y is equal to employment status. All right, I'll see you on Thursday.
For our homework, do you want to just answer? How do we answer each question?
Oh, for homework 1.1.
Like, do we download the PDF and answer with words, or?
Yeah, so I guess it's not posted on Gradescope yet, but you'll just upload the visual. So I think the first question is like who collected the data, like that kind of thing. So that'll just be like a text entry.
Okay.
And then for the other ones, it'll be an upload. Yeah.
I think I just like lost access to it. I had it last year, but so basically I have this here, but it won't let me like type anything. It says like unlicensed product.
Oh yeah, so you may have to re-register.
Okay. I tried using the one through the school that's like this, but it wouldn't let me like open up. Like, so this is like through the internet, like browser. This is like through the school.
Yeah.
It wouldn't let me. I mean, I might just have to buy it. I don't really know.
You don't have to buy it.
I don't have to buy it. Okay.
So you can get access to Excel on your computer, like not through the browser, through the institutional access. So there'll be like a code, like a registry code. I don't have time to walk you through it right now, but if you can't figure it out on your own, you can drop by office hours and we can try to.
Okay. I'll try to figure it
some
out. If
text.
not, I'll just go to the office hours.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Hey.
I was wondering how the mini quizzes will start next week.
So not next week. It'll be the end of part 1. So once we get through all of the content in part 1. Yeah.
Yeah, as to like how over like handwritten notes.
Yeah. So if it's on like an iPad, if it's feasible for you, I would have you print them off. If it's not feasible, we can talk about. Yeah, I can give you an exception. Hey.
I'm Lucas.
Lucas. Yeah. Wait, so we have 2 Lucases.
2 Lucases,
And a
yeah.
Luke. Yeah.
And Gradescope.
Yeah, Luke on board.
Yeah. Remember Gradescope? Can turn it on my side.
Oh, yeah. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to turn off.